Last night on a TV show, we showed you something that is happening in Texas, and it is extraordinarily important that every American who cares about education understands what's happening in Texas, because it's about, in the next 12 to 24 months, it will be in your schools. And it will come under a different name, most likely, especially after we expose this. But this is going to be folded into the Common Core of this president. This is what this president is pushing into Common Core, which is what will be in every school. And they are also going to be testing on this Common Core. They're already changing the ACT and the SATs, so you can't get into college, which is a blessing in disguise. You cannot get into college if you haven't used this curriculum and this Common Core. Last night, David Barton was on, and he, if you remember right, when we first met David Barton, I looked into him at first because I didn't know who he was. And he came at the time, and the press was labeling him a Christian zealot and yada, yada, yada. And it was because he was fighting here. He was on the Board of Education, and he was fighting the curriculum. Now, you can say anything you want about David Barton, but I have never seen that man with 1 ounce of malice in him. Never. Mm-hmm. I have never seen that man bigoted. I have never seen him do anything against any religion. Is he religious? Extremely. Yeah, I don't even know what faith he is. Yeah, I don't either. He's just a very faithful guy. Right. He and his wife are I mean, you want to talk about the armor of God. These guys have been under attack for so long, and they just continue to stand. And David has never asked us for anything. He has never asked me to promote anything. Never. He is the biggest servant I have ever seen in my life. You call David Barton, and he is there. Doesn't matter. We had a family crisis. What was it, Pat? 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? I called David Barton, or I wrote to David Barton, and it's like 11:30 at night. Instant email. Can I come over? He lives an hour and a half away. He is an amazing man. So he was fighting, and all of the press was smearing him as a religious zealot. Well, now we find out why he was being smeared. Now gag orders have been lifted by the state of Texas on something called CSCOPE. And 75% of all of the schools here in Texas are using this curriculum. It doesn't even go into American history until 1565, I think it is. Right. So there's no Columbus. When you do study Columbus, he's an eco-warrior. Yeah. Nothing to do with being a man of God at all. No, not a man of God. They took all reference of that out of his journals. In fact, they say in the journal, there's no mention really of God. If you look, there's no mention of God here. Well, because they've edited the journal. You cannot possibly read anything from the journals of Christopher Columbus. I know, I've read them. You cannot read any of it without seeing he was a profound man of God who felt led here. No, they've made him into an eco-warrior. They have taken the Boston Tea Party and made it, the guys who were the Boston Tea Party, into terrorists. Mm-hmm. They made Paul Revere into a guy who was hiding illegal intoxicants and drugs and alcohol in his home. They asked the students to imagine that they've created a new socialist or communist state and create a flag for it. Jeffy, can you bring this chalkboard in, please, into light a little bit so I can see it? This is part of the core curriculum, and let me just read it. And they don't call it curriculum. That's how they get you. Because a curriculum can be regulated. They don't call this a curriculum. They call it, I don't remember, teaching tools or instructional materials, something like that. Instructional materials. Mm-hmm. But they actually have, and it sounds very Gestapo-like. We had 2 teachers on. The teachers were under a 10-page non-disclosure. That if you signed this, they'd take everything. They'd destroy you. One of the teachers had been destroyed. He was written up, I think, 12 times before he just said, enough. He had never been written up before. And he finally got out. He finally just got out. This other teacher, she's a 5th grade teacher, and she said she can't do it. They come into your class with a clipboard to make sure you're doing exactly what they tell you to do. I mean, it is Gestapo stuff. Here's what they're teaching. They're teaching, and this is right out of one of the pages of the teaching tools. Free enterprise, the idea of living in a community where all people strive to fulfill their own needs and wants using their own money, called capital. What would a society look like if it was purely capitalist? Now, it shows a picture of a guy climbing stairs to a higher purpose. Free enterprise is down at the bottom. Then socialism, the idea that big things society needs, the people own and provide, telephone and power. What other big stuff should be covered? And then at the top is communism, the idea of living in a commune where all people work together for everyone. What about private property? That's what's being taught in the Texas, 75% of the schools in Texas. And it gets worse from here. When you see their list of heroes, and that's why I brought this up on who they're honoring as heroes now. When you see their list of heroes, the only people that the kids learn from kindergarten to the 3rd grade, I don't know half of them. And the half that I do know, they're socialists and communists. You will find Hugo Chavez being honored in curriculum like this. And it is coming to your state. It is coming to your school.
That's why we keep saying, get out of public school.
Get out. I asked the teachers when we got off the air, because we're going to do another special with teachers, with educators who want to be in, and also with state legislators who want to try to stop this. How do you do it? I asked the teachers yesterday, how do you deal with this? So I'm a parent. What do you tell me to do? This happened off the air. As soon as we got off the air, she said, both of them. She said it, and he looked at me and said, she's right. There's nothing you can do. Get your kid out of school. David chimed in and said, well, wait. You got to call your school district. Even if you have kids in homeschooling, you've got to make sure this is not in your school, and you've got to follow this because they're putting this in now. This is part of the president's plan to put in all schools across America. If you're in Texas, hear me. Get this out of the school. Read about it on TheBlaze.com. Do it now. It is underway right now, and it will cripple our country and our children. Warning. I believe this is why we were moving to Texas. I really do. To begin to expose this and to warn you that it's happening all over the country under different names. Read about it right now at TheBlaze.com. It's called CSCOPE.